"Sisters," the old woman cackled, "I have captured a feast, a young boy, tender and sweet. When the moon reaches its peak, come to my dwelling. Tonight we shall eat well." The creatures hissed and laughed, their voices like breaking branches and dying screams.
But when the old woman returned to her house, she found something unexpected. Eche had swept the floor. He had cleaned the walls as best he could. He had even gathered fresh leaves to make the old dwelling smell better. And he was singing a song of mother and son, of love and protection, of two souls who were all each other had in this world. The old woman stood in the doorway watching him. Something stirred in her chest, something she had not felt in many, many seasons. It was warm and painful and strange. "Child," she called. Eche turned, smiling. "Grandmother, you have returned. What can I cook for you? What do you have that I might prepare?" The old woman stared at him. This boy, this kind boy who had helped her carry water, who had stayed to ensure she reached home safely, who now cleaned her house and offered to cook for her. This boy had no idea that he was meant to be the meal. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she spoke, her voice softer than before. "Run." "What, grandmother?" "Run! Leave this forest as fast as your legs can carry you. The stories you have heard, they are all true. I am not what I seem. At midnight my sisters will come, and if you are still here—" She could not finish. "Go! Your kind heart has saved you, but you must go now!" Eche's blood turned to ice. He looked at the old woman's face and saw the truth there. Without another word, he burst through the door and ran. He ran like he had never run before, his feet barely touching the ground, and there, gleaming in the moonlight, were his white stones. One by one he followed them, his breath burning in his chest, his heart hammering against his ribs. Behind him he heard a terrible sound, a sound like many voices screaming together, like wind tearing through dead trees, like hunger itself given voice. In the village, the guards ran through the forest, their torches casting wild shadows. The dibia led them, following the invisible thread that connected him to the boy. "Faster," he urged. "They have discovered he is gone." When midnight struck, that moment when the world of the living and the world of the dead stand closest together, the witches arrived at the old woman's house. They found it empty. "Where is the boy?" they shrieked. "He escaped. He sensed danger and fled." "Liar! You let him go. Chase him, catch him, bring him back." And so they flew, they ran, they crawled through the forest, their forms shifting and changing, their hands stretching out like branches, their mouths opening wider than any human mouth should open. Eche heard them coming. He ran harder, following his white stones, tears streaming down his face, praying to Chukwu, to his ancestors, to anyone who might listen. And then he saw it, the river. The boundary river, wide and dark, its waters flowing between the world of spirits and the world of humans. On the other side, he could see torches, the guards. "Jump, boy, jump!" they shouted. But Eche stood frozen. The river was deep. He did not know how to swim well. Behind him, the terrible sounds grew louder. He could feel them now, feel their hunger, their rage, their cold fingers reaching for him. The hands stretched out, impossibly long, clawed and grasping. They were almost upon him. "Jump!" And Eche jumped. He fell through the air, arms flailing, and hit the water with a great splash. The cold shocked him. The current pulled at him. But then strong hands grabbed him. The guards had jumped in too, their torches abandoned on the bank. They pulled him toward the far shore, toward safety, toward home. Behind them, on the opposite bank, the witches screamed in fury. They could not cross. The river was blessed, protected by ancient laws. It was the boundary, and they were forbidden from entering the land of the living.
The guards dragged Eche onto the bank, coughing and sputtering but alive. They wrapped him in their animal skins and carried him home. At the palace, Igwe Eze sat in his throne of carved wood, waiting. Beside him sat his wife, the Lolo, her wrapper adorned with cowries, her face grave. The Dibia stood nearby, his divination bones still clutched in one hand, and Adaeze sat on the ground, her face buried in her hands, her body shaking with silent sobs. When the guards entered carrying Eche, time seemed to stop. "Eche!" Adaeze screamed, leaping to her feet. She ran to him, pulling him into her arms, holding him. He could barely breathe. Her tears fell on his face like rain. The Igwe released a breath he had been holding since the guards left. The Dibia allowed himself a small smile. The Lolo whispered a prayer of thanksgiving to Ani, the earth goddess. "My son," Adaeze wept. "My son, my son! I am sorry, Mama. I should have listened. I should have believed." The Igwe stood and walked to them. He placed a hand on Eche's wet head. "The boy has learned a lesson that many do not live to learn, that the old stories are told for a reason, that the wisdom of our ancestors should not be dismissed, that pride can lead a man into darkness." He paused, "But he has also shown us something else, that kindness has power. Even in the house of evil, kindness can soften a hard heart. The witch let him go because of his pure heart." The Dibia nodded. The boy dropped stones to mark his path. Wisdom. He cleaned the witch's house, though he was tired. Kindness. He jumped into the river, though he was afraid. Courage. This boy will be a great man of our people. That night, the village celebrated. They beat drums and sang songs of thanksgiving. They offered sacrifices to the gods who had protected their child, and they gathered around the fire as Eche told his story, his mother never letting go of his hand. From that day forward, no child of Umuahia ventured into the deep forest, and when new children were born, their parents told them the story of Eche and the white stones, the story of the boy whose kindness saved him from the witch's feast, the story that proved the old ways held wisdom that should never be forgotten.